We're in the Antique Wireless Museum. We're in Bloomfield, New York. And one would say, why would you have it in Bloomfield? It's because the three guys that started it in 1952 came from Bloomfield. You could translate it and say Old Radio Museum, but we're much bigger than that. We're dedicated to the history of technology of all communications. That's about 200 years worth of technology.
This is fascinating, to really see the history that unfolds here, and particularly someone who kind of, patterns the broadcasting career that I have, the years that I have spanned. I find myself relating to a great deal of the content here. It goes back to my Army days when I was at basic training in Fort Dix. I was all excited. At the end of basic training, they said, "You're going to radio school." I said, well, this is great. This is what I want to be. I want to be a disc jockey. I want to be an announcer. This will be great. I walked in that first day and they said, "You're here for 6 weeks to learn Morse code." So the very first item when I walked in the door was that Morse code, the telegraph key that became very much a part of my life for those years in the Army.
People like the Titanic exhibit. People like the book that Samuel Morse's personal notebook in which he designed the first telegraph line from Baltimore to Washington in 1844. That's here in the museum. We have the first transistor radio that was ever made. We have the 1,000-watt spark transmitter. We have Voice of America station. We have the Western Union exhibit that shows a telegraph office from about 1900.
I was looking for, I had to admit, because I remember from years ago, I was looking for the studio camera that I remember running when I just started out. And part of that was running the studio camera for Tom Decker and Bob Mills and all of the news people there. And that camera, I'm pretty sure, is the same one that was one of 3 or 4 cameras that we had in the studio. With the 4 or 5 lenses in the front, and you would, rack the lens, no zoom lenses back then. So to see that, and some of the equipment that I ran in the control room as an engineer, to see some of that kind of takes you back to your roots a little bit.
I had 2 4th graders wanted to hear about the first cell phone, and we have the very first cell phone that was ever made. She said, "Well, where's the screen?" I said, "It didn't have a screen." "Well, how did you do text messaging without a screen?" "Well, you can't, because it didn't do text messaging. That came along a lot later." But the artifacts are not everything. It's the stories that go with them. We try to bring every visitor around and tell them the story.
I think for a parent or a grandparent, as I was able to do today, to explain to someone the technology that they grew up with, I think can be a fascinating bonding experience for a family as well.
I think it's important that kids have some sort of a spark in their life to get into engineering, mathematics, science. And we feel that the museum is a way of sparking some of that interest in those sciences. And the kids that have been in here, they run around and they make noise, they run from one exhibit to the other. And for someone that spends a gazillion of hours volunteering my time, that's what makes it all worthwhile.